I know this is after lunch, and we have to keep the yawns at bay. So we will try and make it as snappy as possible so that you all wake up and actually enjoy this session, where it is my absolute pleasure to be in conversation with three very interesting people, but who also come from very different places. That's what makes it interesting. So we have Anitha and Biswajit on that side, who are models of what it means to go down a rabbit hole. And when you go down that rabbit hole, just like Alice in Wonderland, you come across all kinds of treasures and wonderlands which continue to be in your life in several ways. Theirs is a project of recovery and documentation of a 1,000-year history of migration of the Saurashtras to Tamil Nadu, with stops along the way, where the pollen of language and their skills has clung to them to bring a very special character and fragrance to their community in their new as well as their old home, Tamil Nadu. 1,000 years, I think, qualifies for old now, right? Then we have Jayalakshmi on my right, who is steeped in Sanskrit. Sanskrit, which is the language of our epics, and it occupies a very special and a very distinctive place in our history and our imagination. And to have a newspaper called Sudharma in it today that is reporting on the FIFA World Cup currently makes for a very interesting amalgam of the old and the new. It is a relatively new instrument of communication, the newspaper, and we will learn more about how Sanskrit and this new mode of communication, they meet, they collide, they integrate, and they create very interesting textures, and hopefully those textures draw in the new generation. Because whenever we are talking about history, we have to remember that we are talking to a new set of people every time that we are talking about a history, right? So I'm going to begin my conversation by posing one common question to all my three very interesting panelists, which is, why is it actually important to record or document history, and how do you keep it relevant to the present moment? So I'll ask Anitha to go first, and then Biswajit, and then Jayalakshmi.
Everyone here. So history is not just a record of the past, It is a foundation for a community's identity. And if we don't document the history, memories fade, and oral traditions also get forgotten, and future generations lose the opportunity to understand where they are from and the values that they have grown up with. And so that is one of the reasons. And we cannot keep history in the past. We have to relate it to the present. And the documentation is also important because there's a reliable record, based on research and archives and photographs rather than just fading memories. And we also are able to honor the contributions and the sacrifices of that the ancestors have done, which is also recorded. And we are sharing this with the younger generation who don't have to go around looking for where they are from. It's all there in one book. So those are the reasons that, documentation is very important. And being relevant to the present generation, so we actually did the whole book keeping the future generations in mind, because most of them know they are from Saurashtra, but nothing more than that. So we thought we have to make it accessible to them. And we found that a lot of them were in Tamil. The little valuable books that were written on the community were all in Tamil. And so we wanted to do it in English, so it's accessible to the younger generation also. And we used a lot of visuals and sketches and illustrations to make it interesting for them, because that has to appeal to them. I mean, we have to present the book in a way that is that they can relate to. So we tried our best to do it, and after the release of our book, we found that young people are actually have got very interested and are relating to the book as much as we thought they would.
Good afternoon. I agree with what Anitha said, the whole thing, but just want to add a couple of more points to what she said. history is not necessarily about dates and what happened earlier, but it also makes you understand who you are now. So, for example, it shapes the language you speak. It tells you what festivals you're celebrating. It passes on the values or old values to our next generation, the food you eat. So everything is about history. You cannot disconnect what happened earlier and what you are now. So that is very important. For Saurashtras like us, if we traveled over 2,000 kilometers over many centuries, and if we didn't document about our journey, it will be the future generation will know that we live somewhere, but it would have lost the track of the story itself. So I think that is why it's more important for us to document it. And also, every generation inherits two things from our previous generation. One is the genes, the other one is the stories. So I think now what is happening is we are concentrating a lot on preserving the genes. Where are the stories? Stories will get lost. So I think it's very important that we document them now for future generation. And also, how do you make it relevant? I think that's a very good question, Manisha. So, I've seen a lot of us and a lot of younger people lose interest in history because it doesn't relate to what is happening now and how can history help us in future. So what I feel is if you are able to bring out elements from our history, our migration, our weaving skills, for example, how we adapted, how we innovated, how we learned languages, and our entrepreneurship, everything, if you're able to relate, if you just put them on the table and say, look, this is what our ancestors did, you can learn that from our history, it'll help you in the future. These are the same things which our kids they also need to use to live their lives. I think that makes it very, interested, they need to understand that. I think that's my point.
Sure. So that's very interesting because you are basically locating the importance of stories in telling your history. Now, coming to you, Jayalakshmi, you are literally a living piece of history. Sanskrit is that bit of history in our lives, in our imaginations, which was there in the past. It was there when we look back just over our shoulder, and it's there today. And it may be a little less echoey today, but it's very much there. It's like the bedrock of a number of languages that we transact in, that we speak in. So to keep that in mind, how do you look at history, and why do you think it is important to make the history of Sanskrit a living one today, and is that what you're trying to do?
Namaste to all. Actually, we are Indians, so we have in our blood the Sanskrit as well as the culture. So it will not go anywhere you live. So the history itself is Mahabharata, Ramayana, everything. So we, each and every day we do worship God and all. So we pray God through shlokas and all. So every day we are doing it. But we won't be knowing that how we are doing. Without knowing our knowledge, we are doing it. But maybe little difference or anything like that. But the thing is going on, even each and every person knows about the Ramayana and Mahabharata. So knowing the Ramayana and Mahabharata, so he knows the Sanskrit language itself. Without that, each and every, now it has become a fashion to keep Sanskrit names to the children. So they'll ask, some people will ask and call us, please tell me any very name that should be very unique and all. So they are searching it for that older tradition and all. So I don't think that the thing is, we are making that we have to give documents and all, but it is going on. So many research works also going on, but not like in the foreign countries how they are doing it. But in India also it is moving now, like Oriental Research Institute or maybe IIT from Bombay or any other ways. So some softwares also going on. So they are doing the documents like Veda, Vedas, Upanishads and everything. And I think Modi ji, Prime Minister, once he told about that when Dakshina Dhruva, they made the satellite. So during that time, he said that we have to learn Surya Siddhanta. I think so many of them have heard about this. So the older traditions and older whatever the granthas are there, so we have to study, and they have given already. But we don't know that language properly. We are studying the translations. So if you go and thoroughly, if you go to that language, then you will be knowing. But in India, they are not that much of interest, giving the interest about the language. But in foreign countries, so many people are coming to Mysuru, especially to learn yoga. Not only doing the exercise, but they are learning Patanjali's yoga theories also. So they are both learning. If I have some time, I can explain about this.
We'll come back. We'll come back. We have specific questions for both sets of people because they are doing different things, yet they are related to history. So when we come back to you, we will be talking about this. I mean, what is interesting is how she's making history alive today through different modes of communication. So I'd like to turn to you guys now again and ask you some specific questions about this enormous book that is sitting in front of you, which I would request you to hold up for the audience. And with their interest in telling the story, it is fittingly called The Story of Saurashtra. And what I see right from the outset is that it is visually very appealing. And you have taken the trouble to sort of do a mix of art forms so that it's a interesting coffee table book. So my first question to you, Biswajit, you being the illustrator, how did you do the visual research? What were the references, or did you just use your imagination?
Yeah, I think I will take that up, Actually, the visual medium was very important for us because we wanted our readers to experience our history, through the images as much as the written text, So we actually went back to our homeland in Gujarat, and we connected with our places of origin, and we also have a Saurashtra University at Rajkot, Gujarat. So we went there, and we were able to access very rare old documents connected with our migration and So all those have been included in the book, which also lends authenticity. And we also, after Gujarat, we traveled down south to all the settlements where the Saurashtras have settled down. And we met people in person, we interviewed them, we took photographs of temples, heritage buildings, and community elders, community organizations, and documented all this in person because, no matter how much written source is available, when you meet them in person, that's a totally different thing. And also, as Biswajit will explain, it was a really mad journey, because as you can see here, we had to visit so many places, and a couple of cities we had to visit again and again because many a times people we went to meet were not available, or the temples were closed, but we kept going back till we got what we wanted. So this was a journey, and this is like when we went to Rajkot in Saurashtra to study the documents. And from where we got a lot of information, actually. So everything is added in the book. So the visual medium was very, very important for us. And there's a lot of photographs and illustrations, which makes it more appealing.
Anything else? Are you going to go through the slides
Is there one
now?
more slide?
Yeah. Can I?
You want to go later with the slides?
Part.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Please.
So, other than what Anitha said, we had to play with a lot of imagination because our history is a lot of it is oral history, and for the book we wanted to actually depict something which was not there in photographs and pictures. So, what happened was our inspiration started. Both of us readily accepted that the first inspiration of this book, which remained in our head, started with at the Marina Beach in Chennai, where our grandfather used to take us there and to tell us stories, sit there and tell us stories about Somnath, tell us stories about how our ancestors moved in, while we were playing, eating, not really concentrating on what actually happened. So that scene we had to visualize. So we didn't have a picture, or we didn't have photographs of what happened. So here you can see actually grandfather telling us, but I don't think anybody is really concentrating on what he's saying. But I think it all went into our head. And it came out a few years ago saying that, yes, we should do it. And our inspiration, when we spoke, it landed up there. So that is one thing which I wanted to show, imagination. Second thing is the migration itself, the travel. Nowhere we can find how our ancestors really travel. It could have been bullock carts, they could have used elephants, they could have walked, they could have used horse carts. We didn't have any picture. But I was very keen that I show one scene of migration, what would have been. So this is something which I drew for the book, where all these people are walking with their very expensive silk, which we are known for, and we are going on bullock carts, and people are walking, children are being carried, and also you can see one horseman, a Kshatriya warrior, because it is written that our people were escorted by Saurashtra Kshatriya warriors wherever they went, for two reasons. One, to look after the people. Second thing, more important, the precious silk which we were carrying. I think that was the strong point where the Kshatriyas came in. They were more concerned, I think, about the silk than us. So, but anyway, they escorted us. And right in front, that green person who is walking with a Krishna idol, the replica of the idol is still there in Madurai, and the history goes that we carried a Krishna idol right from Saurashtra 1,000 years ago. The replica of it is still there in the Madurai temple, which you can see it. And then just to bring humor to the whole thing, you can see in the back of the bullock cart, I am sitting there with my dog and my phone. So I am also part of the migration, traveling migration, which we did.
That doesn't look like you.
Pardon?
It doesn't look like you. You weren't looking in the mirror clearly.
That's how he looks in his cartoons.
And the third thing which I imagine, there are a lot of pictures, there are a lot of my drawings in the book, but third one I imagined was, there's a saint, Saurashtra saint, who in his time, he dressed up in silk, women's clothes, wore jewelry, and he used to dance on the streets, singing praises for Lord Krishna. He was in love with Lord Krishna, so he had to be a woman. That's what he has written. So there is no picture of him actually in all this finery, dancing. It is always a picture of to me, it was a very boring picture of him sitting and meditating. So I had to actually put a little bit of spice into his life. So the saint becomes, he's wearing finery and he's dancing in the streets. You can probably see the Madurai Meenakshi temple at the background. And so these are the kind of things which we had to imagine for the book. There's a lot of places where we had to imagine, and there are no pictures. So that I was very excited to do it, because as a cartoonist, I was really kicked doing all these drawings, and we brought a different angle to the book, like not a very serious kind of a thing. We wanted to bring this in, where we found that a lot of children and the next generation immediately connected to what with the drawings.
Absolutely. So as a publisher, that's the first question I asked you.
Exactly.
Because the medium is as important as the message, and if you are very significant about the history that you want to tell, nobody wants to listen after a point. It's just boring.
Yeah.
It's only when you shed the significance and you say that I'm going to have fun with this. This is my history. This is my way of telling it. And you make it as sort of modern in its telling, is when you're likely to attract, sorry for using these ugly words like eyeballs and all that, but you do have to worry about them when you're creating a book. So in fact, I have been pushing both Biswajit and Anitha since I met them, that you really need to market this, because this whole idea of history as a story, and a story which is told by people who are part of that history. There's a trick to it, and how best can you do it? So, because your community particularly has been so closely associated with textiles and weaving, I would sort of urge you to tell us a quick story about the migration of the tie and dye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But Manisha, before that, I just want to give a short thing. In this book, we have actually brought in all elements of our Saurashtra community into that book. And like food, weaving, our Sungudi saris, our language, our, everything, our work, our business, education, everything. But there are two pillars to our identity, Saurashtra identity, which is the language and the weaving. So the language gave us voice, and the weaving gave us livelihood. So I'll ask Anitha to start off with the language, then I will shift to the saris. Yeah, we have a couple of slides. Go ahead. Anitha.
Yeah. So, the Saurashtra language has its roots in Sauraseni Prakrit, which is one of the very ancient Indo-Aryan language. So, the language itself, Saurashtra language itself, is one of the oldest spoken languages in the world. And but in the later part of the 19th century, there was a revival in the script because they had to standardize it for the printing, so that the future generations could have access to it in the future too. And it's remarkable how our language has survived for more than 1,000 years. So we speak the same Saurashtra language today that was spoken in the old Saurashtra. In those days, Gujarat was called the Saurashtra Kingdom. And the language that was spoken there is what is spoken in Tamil Nadu. But what is spoken in Saurashtra is different now. That is Gujarati. Once modern Gujarati came there, was established, and they had the influence of Sindhis and other languages. So that became Gujarati, whereas we have kept up the old Saurashtra language, which I feel is quite remarkable about that.
And one thing I would like to add is our language is like this recipe. So
Yeah.
it's because it got in Dravidian influences. So here, you have to add 2 spoons of Gujarati, 1 jar of Marathi, 2 generous helpings of Telugu, 3 liters of Tamil, and then you add Hindi, you add Kannada. Even Kannada is there because we lived in Kannada Karnataka,
For
Andhra
almost
for
2
200
centuries.
years.
Yeah.
So we add all that, and then you get a language which we speak called Saurashtra. So everybody can understand one bit of it, but nobody can understand what we speak.
See, we may, when we are out of our houses, we may speak the local language like Tamil or Telugu. But, once we go into the houses, we all speak in Saurashtra. So that's the way we keep the language alive. But a lot of impact we had from the Telugu, because we stayed in Andhra Pradesh for more than 2 centuries, and we actually became very prosperous in that region. So we got a lot of words absorbed from the Telugu. We even had some marriage rituals which we take up in our marriages, and we are sometimes called Telugai Saurashtras also. But finally, it is the Tamil which has taken over, because we've been in Tamil Nadu for more than 400 years. So, a lot of rituals, customs are the Tamil Brahmin customs, but in spite of all that, we still maintain our unique identity. Our language, our traditions, we have not let go, and our skills, which is Sungudi weaving, which Biswajit will be talking about. That's a craft that only our community does. So we have held on to all that, yet we have
Both of them
managed.
are advertisements for the Sungudi currently on stage, as you can see.
Yes, my daughter, who's a designer, she's designed this piece of
Jacket.
garment. So she's introduced some Sungudi in it, and yeah. And one more thing I wanted to ask, when she said Teluguized, Saurashtrians, there's a very interesting fact which I like to share. How Teluguized we had become. The reason is, you all must have heard about Saint Tyagaraja, right? So all the Carnatic songs and everything, he composed a lot of Carnatic songs. But his foremost disciple was a Saurashtra. And Saint Tyagaraja is been noted that he didn't write down anything. He didn't write down his songs. It was the Saurashtra saint Venkatramana Bhagavathar, who was with him for 26 years, he actually documented all the Carnatic tunes, and he wrote down his life stories. And because of that, the palm leaves are still at Saurashtra Sabha in Madurai. And if not for this documentation, I don't think we'll be having Chennai Music Festival.
Which happens in December every year.
In December, because it would have got lost.
Yeah.
So that is the kind of strong connection we had with the Telugu thing.
And even our old documents like horoscopes, everything was written in Telugu till about the 1920s and 30s. After that only we shifted to Tamil. So this is our script. Yeah, this is the script, This is the one which has been revived, because earlier it was a very, very old script which had the lines on top and vertical and horizontal lines. But for printing purposes, they had to change script.
Well, you probably know that Gujarati also doesn't have a line on top, even today.
Yeah.
And the for example, is like the Hindi but it's like this, it's horizontal.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect segue for my third question.
And just before that, I have just one more point, where we are also getting into the AI and the the computer world. The reason is, in the last few years, we have converted our Saurashtra language to Unicode, system. So we have a keyboard, Saurashtra keyboard, so we can actually type anything in Saurashtra. That's one. Second thing is, as we speak, in another month, by this month end or next month, our app is also ready with that Bhashini app, which is a collaboration between Government of India and Google. So I'll be able to actually ask my computer in Saurashtra, and I will get the answer in Saurashtra. So I think that's a major step which we are going towards, which is going to happen in a month or so. So we are moving forward.
Right. So clearly you have multiple ways of how you're going to carry on this history project forward and get more people into it. But I'm going to now step back and ask you a slightly more philosophical question, which is that for a community which has done well for itself, which has migrated over diverse lands, and that I love that recipe slide with the 2 spoons of Tamil and a few, tadka of something else. What, according to you, is the difference between integrating with the new community or assimilating with it? What is that fine line where you retain your identity, which is very distinct, and yet you find your place in your new home, which is a lovely place, which is sort of, you straddle 2 worlds without straining? So what do both of you have to say about it? And did you think about it when you started the book, and did your minds change by the time you ended it?
No, that was a major point that we always used to discuss about the integration and assimilation, because our community chose integration. Integration is when you actually become part of the society without losing your identity, whereas assimilation is when you're gradually losing your identity. So our community chose integration, and it's they have beautifully, integrated seamlessly, actually, wherever they have traveled and settled, whether it was in Maharashtra, where they picked up the Marathi words, they picked up a lot of influences, cultural influences. In fact, the wedding sari that we wear is the Marathi style. And then when we moved to Vijayanagar Empire, we picked up the words, as he said, a lot of Telugu is being used. And also the color of the sari and the thali, that the wedding thali is also exactly like the Telugus. But the rest of the things is all Tamil rituals, as well as the Saurashtra rituals, And we have also built a lot of temples and built education centers and added to the economy of the places where we have settled in, and added also art and culture. So we have integrated beautifully. And most people wouldn't think that we are something different from the Tamils. They mostly associate us with Tamils. It's only when we start speaking, they understand that, okay, they're speaking a different language. That's when they know that we are from somewhere else, So I think we have integrated quite well.
Actually, one more thing, Manisha, is our 1,000-year migration hasn't actually weakened our identity. It has actually strengthened it. So we, in our minds, we are not compromising ourselves if we living in Tamil Nadu. So we can proudly say we are proud Saurashtrians. We can proudly say we are proud Tamilians. So there is no difference between us. But just a colloquial point, when I was studying in Madurai, I used to have a lot of North Indian friends. And we all look similar. But the local Tamils used to call them Seth. Not even once they've addressed to me as a Seth. So probably for them, Saurashtras were part of the Tamil world. So there was no difference between us and still exists similar.
Right, lovely. So I think you're perfect examples of the wonderful mosaic that our country is. Now I'm going to switch and turn to Jayalakshmi now and sort of still talk about history, but talk about history in the context of Sanskrit and what she is doing currently. So my questions to you are going to be much more about the newspaper than the importance of Sanskrit, because I think everybody in the room would be agreed that, Sanskrit is a very important part of our culture. But when you decide to do a newspaper in Sanskrit, what is the strategies that you think of, to keep the paper contemporary?
Actually, I have not started this. My father-in-law in 1970, he was started. Because some few people, more people actually, they used to think about that this Sanskrit language is a dead language. Because those days, it was not what the situation is going now. Because no communication, it was very rare during that time. So he started, it is not a dead language, because during maybe this Ramayana, Dwapara Yuga, or maybe the beginning of Kali Yuga and all, they used to speak even during the Kalidasa days, or maybe before the conquerors of this Muslims and invaders, they came after the British also, they used to speak Sanskrit only, that is Sanskritam. After that, they demolished all the Gurukulas and all, and later on, so we forgot everything about our culture as well as this, it was fading actually. So because of that reason, he thought, so the only communication is the newspaper. So during those days, that is 1970, it started. And after that, now it is 57 years old newspaper now. Yeah, sure. And they can make slides also, they can make. I can show the first day's newspaper. So still it is going on. They may think that why it is only 2 pages and all, but still so many people are there, not only in India, but also outside India also. I told you before also that so many people are eager to learn yoga as well as some other. So the one example I can give you that, so our
Do you want to speak about the slide? Because we
yeah,
have only 5
he
minutes
was the Pandit Kalale Nadadur Varadaraj Iyengar. He started this Sanskrit newspaper in 1970, July 15. Now we are going to celebrate 57th anniversary. This is 15th on this, and we are celebrating each and every year. Actually, so many persons that they will not celebrate during, that is the newspaper will not celebrate each and every year, but we are celebrating in Mysuru as well as in some other places also. So, and after that, you can change the another one. And this is the first day's newspaper, and front and back this one. So from that day onwards, continuously, without any disturbance on any this one, we are bringing this paper and without stoppage. So we are sending to all over India. So from Jammu Kashmir to Kanyakumari as well as from Assam to Gujarat.
So my question is about your readership.
Yeah.
Will you please talk about that? We are running out of time. I can see people flashing cards at me. So.
Yeah. So those who are interested in Sanskrit and they are eager to learn Sanskrit, so actually we are posting this newspaper every day. You may think now it is very now it is going on and technology is also moving up, but still they are that we are sending this newspaper through post only. So it may reach after 10 days or maybe 15 days after this. So this today's paper will reach Kashmir or Jammu to 10 days after that, or maybe to the Kanyakumari likewise. But still they are interested in reading this newspaper. So before, I think long back, we used to send the newspaper to Sri Lanka also. They took this newspaper to the Buddhism Gurukula. So all the students were reading this newspaper and they sent the video also to us actually.
But do you have a digital version now?
Now we have, that is 2008, we started the digital version. And so many people are there now also, the readers, all over the world actually.
Mm-hmm. So, I think even with this much time at her disposal, she's established that you can use a modern method of communication to kind of make old language as relevant to the present day as possible. Now, we really have to close, but I'm going to get 3 quick responses from all 3 of you. When you're doing this work, whether it is you with your one book or you with your history of a newspaper, what is the one comment from a younger person which has stayed with you and has either given you sort of validation for the project that you started, or that comment stayed with you just for the sheer love that it reflected for having read your book?
Yeah. We have a whole chapter on youth feedback in our book, because we wanted to get them on board for this book. But there are 2 comments, like you said. One is that the next generation is not really bothered about the question when. So for them it is why, how. So why did we migrate? How did we travel? Why are we speaking Tamil and Saurashtra? So I think that difference is there. If you are able to focus on the why, how of the history, I think they are interested in learning. When they will listen to it, but they are not that keen on knowing the dates and etc. Second thing is, they are willing to have dual identities. I think that was a strong point which came out, was dual identities. They don't mind being a Saurashtra, they don't mind being a Tamil, they don't mind being both.
No, but what is their relationship with the idea of history? That, something which reflects that.
Yeah, so history, I think that's what it is, like when it's getting the thing from the history is that, like, we didn't isolate ourselves from just calling ourselves Saurashtra and sit separately. We mingled with all the population everywhere, wherever we went. I think that's what they are learning. They're learning that because they're all becoming global citizens now. So they are learning that they have to be part of the whole thing.
But we also realize that local is very global, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it probably comes from there. Very quickly, I
So
can
one
really see
comment,
nervous people at the edge of the stage.
Yeah, I'll just be very, very brief. So one comment that has stayed in my mind is when a young boy from Switzerland, when I'd asked him to give a comment, for the book, he said that I learned my language Saurashtra when I was very young and I can't unlearn it. So that's a very powerful statement which shows that what you learn in childhood stays with you forever.
That's lovely. Anything from you, Jayalakshmi? From a reader, some comment, some letter? Some response?
Yeah, we are getting every day actually. So the thing is, Sudharma is following Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purname Purna Sarvam. That is, it is the Upanishad Vakyam. So everything is whole. The world is whole thing. So in that context, we are doing this Sudharma, that is Dharma. If we protect that Dharma, the Dharma will also protect us. That is the context we are running it. And we are not running behind the technology or anything. We are utilized, we are helping. Along with that, we are running this newspaper.
Perfect. This is a very positive note to end this session on.